Hi. Sunday morning still... Nope. I waited too long. Now, it's Sunday afternoon here in Las Vegas, Nevada, which doesn't look like Las Vegas, does it? Should have thought that through. I could have said I was anywhere on the planet, but I chose where I really am, the middle of the desert. So therefore, any idea that this is real has now been shattered. Oh well. It's not what we're here to talk about anyway. Now, I don't know why I chose this groove, but I think there's something I should tell you right off the bat. First of all, let's join you. Let me get in the room with you so that we can chat with one another during this little time together. Because I have a fun and serious question, a serious question that we're going to have. That's me. That's me right there. Wow. All right. So Nova's here, as well as Jane. Hopefully this will prove this. There you go. Cher is also watching. Hi, Cher. Hello to everyone who has chosen to spend a little bit of time with me, Bob Doyle, right now on this Sunday, just because you want to. What I have to say to you may not apply to you, because I think that's probably true for a lot of the things I say all the time. But I keep saying them anyway, because I guess I like to hear myself talk. But I guess what I'm asking any of you watching right now is to say, hey, does this apply to me? And if it doesn't, do I know someone to whom it may apply? Because I'd like to help people. I want people to spread their light, shine their light, spread their joy, spread shine, whatever you want to do. You want people to do it because that's just the kind of person you are. Am I right, Joanne? Hey, Joanne. Tasia, long time, and I think it's not Tasia, I think we've talked about this. But it's been too long. Steve is in the room right there. Do you see him? Oh, well, he hid behind the couch. Hey, Nikki. So, a year ago today, Nikki and I were standing in a room together in Toronto, Canada, taking a picture. Hey, my music ran out. There, ran it again. Because I got the vibe, I can't just let it go. I mean, I'm going to turn it off eventually. All right, look, I've gathered a few of you. There we go, see? Bob Doyle is the man who doesn't know his left from his right, his hat from his glove. He's too misty and too much in love. That's, ladies and gentlemen, that's Misty. Mike Weingarten is in the room, as well as Hill. See what I'm saying? All right. So there's a reason I gathered you all here today. Agenda. Well, it was right there in the podcast. Description. There's a little slip. Should I turn off the reverb and have some serious conversation with you? I've got my coffee mug that is based on a podcast called the DAAD Cast. Just showing you one of the many ways you can take an idea and make it into real stuff that you can drink coffee out of. That's really what this is about. How do you take ideas and turn them into things you can drink coffee out of? Not really. I have a question for those of you who are watching, if you still are, who are content creators, experts. You find yourself talking a lot, whether it's on stage, maybe you've got a program. Do you know who I'm talking about, right? Maybe you're out there, maybe you're a coach, maybe you're an author, maybe you're not doing anything with all of these ideas. You got all this stuff you like to talk about. You're making people crazy talking at parties about it. Why not take all that stuff in your head and make a podcast out of it and get podcast famous, right? Bob, I've never really thought about that. Or, Bob, I've thought about that a lot, and here are the reasons why I don't have a podcast. So that's my question to you. If, in fact, you are a content creator, speaker, expert, whatever, and you know what a podcast is, my question to you is, why don't you have one? Check this out. It's an endorsement. I've got to get this right. An endorsement. I'm going to smile right here. We're going to take a screenshot. Right? So I can use that in all of my marketing. Hi, Sonova. Isn't it nice? So so there's reasons why you probably don't have a podcast. One, maybe you just don't know how. Fair enough. I don't know. I got this idea, but I don't know how to make it. I barely know what one is. Hi, Diane. But I know I should probably have one. Or you've got these ideas, you know you should have one. You don't yes, you don't know how to do it, but how do you get it even out there? Can I make money from this? What are the benefits? What are the downfalls? Why should I, Bob? You might be asking yourself, Bob, why should I have a podcast of my own? Well, it's funny you should ask that, because you may have seen, I posted the other day right here on Facebook, a little video called 5 Great Reasons to Host Your Own Podcast. Now, some of you may have watched it. Some of you may have not watched it. I don't, whatevs. I can't make you do this stuff. Kathy's here too, by the way, as well as Diane. Sorry, Diane is getting here late, but at least she owned it. Now, I want you to think, do you have an area of expertise that you like to talk about? Maybe you've never thought about this before, but people know you for it, and you think, hey, it would be fun to have my very own podcast. But again, I don't know how. Where would I get started? What would it go like? Can I make money? All of these questions, right? Well, this is what we're going to talk about on this webinar. I think it's out of fashion to say webinar. I think I'm supposed to say this special exclusive training, or maybe that's even old school. There's just no way. You can't win these days. So I'm just going to call it a webinar, because what it's going to be is me talking about these things in order so that you'll understand them. Probably have some graphics and stuff. Sounds like a webinar to me. But you can call it whatever you'd like. Bill, miss you, man. Congratulations on everything. Diane says, perfect timing for me. Well, good. I want to know. There's another thing that I'd like to know. If you don't have a podcast, why not? I mean, it can seriously be, I just never even thought about it. That's fine. Or if you had a podcast, what do you think it might be about? I want you to think about these things. Because there's a lot of opportunity. Podcasting is freaking huge. Do a little research, or just come to the webinar on Thursday at noon. It will be live. It'll be live, and so I'll take your questions and all of those things. So we'll talk about why, great reasons. We'll go in depth further. I mean, I've got that video on my timeline. You can look at that. It's short. It's quick. There's a download you can get. Also 5 great reasons. But then we're going to expand even more on this, plus have some ideas. Go back and forth. And I would really love, if you're there live, if you have some ideas and you're not really sure, give me a chance to give you some sort of coaching and give you some ideas live so that you can see, because my podcast Jumpstart really is all about helping you do this stuff in a done-for-you way. But we're also really, super happy to teach you how to do it too if you want to. Just a lot of people don't want to. Not everybody's a geek like me, ladies and gentlemen. Diane, see, already on board. So you know what to do. Just go to mypodcastjumpstart.com. You don't even have to do the webinar. You can just go to mypodcastjumpstart.com and let's just do it. Jeff, didn't know Vegas had a beach. Well, yeah, it didn't until yesterday. I dug a little too deep and I didn't call the cable service first. But now look at it. Hello, Elena. If I start a podcast, I'd wanted a sidekick for dynamics or interviews. Yes. Well, that's a good idea. Having somebody to bounce things off of is good. And interviews is a great way to get started when you don't have a lot of content right out of the gate. Or you do, you're just not quite confident enough. And so, and there's other great reasons to have guests or an interview format when you get started too, because, and I'm spilling the beans. There's going to be beans all over the floor. So watch out. Don't step on the beans, especially if you have carpet. But here comes a bean coming at you, and it just makes sense. A lot of this is logic. Okay? But if you have a guest on your show, and that guest has a following, and that guest says to their following, hey, I'm on this show, go check it out, boom. Downloads, right? And then possible subscribers. And that's what you want, is subscribers. Basic idea with this podcast thing is when you get a subscriber, every time you release a new episode, your subscriber knows about it and then goes seeking out your content. They're not like going, oh, here's another thing from so-and-so in my email. This is getting bothersome. No, they look forward to Tuesdays because that's when Diane's podcast drops and they're going to learn all about whatever Diane wants to talk about. I'd love to see Diane do a podcast, which is audio only for the most part. There are video podcasts, but about how to do her painting. How would you do that? It's so visual. I don't know. Not sure either, but I love to listen to Blog Talk Radio. Right, and that's Blog Talk Radio is basically podcasting. That's basically what it is. But, you know, here's my gripe with Blog Talk, and it always has been. Everybody sounds like they're on the telephone. And just, it's not, I'm sorry, guys. It's just not good quality. Podcasts these days are like produced radio shows, right? And they're expected to sound good. And that's another reason to consider my podcast Jumpstart, because we even offer full production services. All you got to do is create your content. Send us a recording of you going, here's my thing I want to say, and then we make it sound dazzling, and then we publish it for you. What do? You just come up with more content. That's it. That's what my podcast Jumpstart's about. But if you're not ready yet, at least watch the webinar, you know, because that'll tell your brain, okay, you did a little research, even though you know you should have done it right away. But time's a wasting. If you know you want to do a podcast and you have some content, oh my God, we could have you out there on Apple Podcasts and well, it really depends on you. I can't make a promise like that. Plus Apple Podcasts, you know, all these, here's the thing, you know, when you submit yourself to Apple and Spotify and all that, they all have their little different requirements and all that. And that's why I'm saying it's not rocket science, guys. It's just kind of a hassle. Am I right, Nancy? Nancy knows what I'm talking about. It's just kind of a hassle, and you, as the content creator, just need to be in your brilliance, right? And let somebody else handle the publishing and all of that. So, we can talk more about that if you'd like, but I'm really here to talk about the webinar, which is next Thursday at noon Pacific time. Because, and it's probably the most unnecessary webinar on the planet, because you already know you want a podcast. If you're thinking about coming to the webinar, that means that you're thinking about doing a podcast, which means it's time to just, let's do it. Let's have a conversation. Let's get your format together. Let's figure out if you're going to do interviews. Let's technical setup. Let's get it going and out there. But hey, I know how it is. Why podcasting and not YouTube? I'll tell you why. Now, I'm a big fan of YouTube. Obviously, I've got the Bob Doyle Show. I love it. However, not as low power mode on the phone, not as spontaneous, and the whole being camera ready. Video production can take a lot longer than audio production as well. And generally speaking, podcast platforms, they do some do send video down, video podcasts, but that's a big download and not how people mostly consume podcasts. Most people consume podcasts in audio form. So you want to create content with that in mind. That's why I redid my whole No More Secrets podcast. Is no longer just the audio from my live Q&As on Facebook. They're me doing a fully produced, you know, on mic, how it's supposed to be podcast. Yes, it's great for repurposing content like I was doing, but in terms of like getting more focus on my No More Secrets podcast, I wanted to, you know, change the format and make it more appropriate. Sorry, I was getting distracted by the comments, so let's just share them with you. Dawn, not only a proponent of podcasting, but a podcaster herself, probably has way more episodes in the can on her podcast than all of my podcasts combined. Plug your podcast, Dawn. I don't mean to make you do math, Diane. Did I ask you to do math? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Podcasting gets a big... Oh, I'm telling you. There's something like 750,000 podcasts out there. I heard some statistic the other day, 30,000 a month. 30,000 new ones a month. And look, don't make me do my whole webinar here. You can go watch my 5 reasons, or you can go to mypodcastjumpstart.com and get the little download about 5 great reasons. Or you can just say, I bet Bob Ed. There you go. CBD Talk Podcast. That's Dawn's. Do we have the plug bell? And that's right. So many platforms to listen to podcasts. iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Alexa, etc. We'll get you on all of those so you don't have to. Oops. I said Alexa and she responded over here. She's playing the wind chimes, by the way, and the birds. Okay. The time. Noon Pacific. Look, if you go to this page, that's what it's gonna look like right on that page. See, 5 reasons to host a podcast webinar details Thursday, 17 October 2019 at 12 p.m. That is Pacific time, U.S. and Canada, GMT -7. Convert to other time zones? Sure, we can do that. That's why there's a link. And there's a short little video that in hardly any time says what I've now taken however many minutes to say. Point is, go here, you'll get there. Click the register now. It's easy. You guys, you know how to do this. You've gone to webinars before, right? Bob, can you really make money? Are you kidding me? The DAAD Cast? Here's an idea. Let me just, if you haven't thought about podcasts yet, because podcasts can be so many different things. Podcasts can be just informative. Hey, I know this subject matter here. I'm going to talk to you about it. Or I'm here to talk to this other person about it. Or it could be a combination of both. Be a series of features, NPR style. It can be fully produced fiction, like the DAAD Cast. Tells a story like a serial. If you're a writer and you've got a series, a web series, any kind of a series, a play you've written, it doesn't matter. Turn it into a podcast. Get it out there, for crying out loud. It's sounding pretty good, isn't it? We also have a relationship, a professional relationship with Stars PR. That's Tracy, guys. And what Tracy does is she puts people like you on other people's podcasts. So now you have your own podcast. And now you're going to get on other people's podcasts to talk about your subject matter and talk about the fact that you've got a podcast. Oh, do you see what's going to happen here? More people are going to come to your podcast. Yeah, I'm saying too much already. I'm giving you Thursday right now. No, I'm not. There's more. There's more, but there's only 3 days, 23 hours, 24 minutes, and 17 seconds. Crazy talk. All right. 8 p.m. in NL. Is that Netherlands? Can't make that, unfortunately. You're hosting and organizing a live lecture with someone who I can't. Roy Rogers. Stars.pr is actually spelled STARRZ. Why am I leaned over like this? Because it's comfortable. I'm on a couch now, you know. I'm no longer on that desk chair that's just like, you know. So I was like I was working in a cube. Now I just got this couch, nice, comfy purple couch to wear my purple shirt to do my podcast. Actually, I do my podcast in my other studio, but I do everything else here now. Bob Doyle Show included. I digress. Netherlands, now we've got it. Cher has it on her calendar already. We'll be there. Very interested in this. Hashtag life coaching. That's right. I'll tell you some of the other formats I use in my. I have 2 podcasts out there that haven't been updated recently that are just music. I share ukulele playing and I share ambient music. So it's not me talking at all. Well, some of it is. But it's just a music podcast. So if you're a musician, if you have audio, maybe you write poetry. I don't know what you do. You could turn it all into podcasts. So it's not just sitting on your shelf. Charlotte is here. Purple podcast, that's right. Wore my purple shirt for podcast purposes. Jen is watching. Jen. Now, I know you probably know some friends, maybe in the real estate biz. Subject matter experts. Maybe you need a podcast. Do you have one, Jen? You can have a podcast of just meditations that you create and lead. People would love that. Subscribe to a meditation that shows up every Monday or whatever. Monday morning meditation with Jen. Monday morning Morgan meditation. The morgatation. I've been morgatated. It's Monday. It's time to get morgatated. Just saying, unlimited possibilities. I will tell you this too. If you know, maybe you're not a podcast wannabe. Maybe you're not, but maybe you know someone who is. We have a referral program too. So if you know somebody who does this, guess what? Cha-ching. This is the universal sign for cha-ching. Probably because of the sound it makes. Sounds just like cha-ching. This is turning into an AMSR podcast. That's me clicking my fingernails. Who's that bother? Everybody is out of the room. All right, so that's it. Any questions? Any questions about anything? And if you do have questions, you should come to the thing on Thursday. The thing. Come to the thing on Thursday. Thursday thing. Orwigated. I like orwiganated, even though I don't think that's orwiganated or orwigated. Orwigated works too. Morganated. Squire-nated. Greeninganated. We'll create a whole podcast network called Nated. No one will know what it means until they look at the show list. Will there be a replay of the webcast? That's the question from hell. You didn't know this was going to be a musical, did you? Let's get that music going again. Turn back on the reverb, just add a little woozle-wuzzle to it. Hill, let me tell you about replays. If all goes well, there will in fact be a replay. But don't you want to be there live? I know you can't. I know you got some story about why you can't. You're hosting something. You got a previous obligation. I get it. We all have our stories. I'm kidding, Hill. I'm kidding. But being there live, you're in the magic, right? You got the vibe like you're never going to get it again. When you ask a question, you know everyone's seeing it. And when you get your answer, you know that your answer is live and in real time, contributing to the hopes and dreams of other potential podcasters. Don't you want that good feeling? I know I do. All right, what do we got? We got Diane with upside down smiles. It's not quite a frown, though. Not a story, a live event with over 100 people in the room, my dear. Okay, Hill, I said I was kidding. Sorry. Perhaps my sense of humor isn't for everyone. But it is for everyone else. All right, no questions? So you're going to show up, if at all possible, live on Thursday at noon. After you go and register, I want to see these registrations pouring in. You should register just to help me out and test this form. This one here. Just go in here and click register now. It'd be weird if it said register in 6 minutes. Register now. Oops, that's a little invasive. Register now. I'm just implanting it over and over and over again. Okay, Hill, I'm convinced. Oh, wait. There, an actual URL. I gotta start the music over. There. Does that music work for everybody? Have a nice, does it make you want to host a podcast? Hi, I'm Mitch Newman, and welcome to my podcast. I'd like to talk to you about how keto changed my life and can change yours as well. I know there's a lot of questions about keto, a lot of information flying around out there, so you're probably a little confused about it. The purpose of this podcast is to break it down, make it simple, something you can integrate into your everyday life. We'll talk with experts on the field of ketogenics. We'll talk to many people who've had incredible success with this sometimes hard to understand, but amazingly life-changing and transformative lifestyle. I'm Mitch Newman. You're listening to Keto Man. See how easy it is? It writes itself. All right, what do we got? Hill will do that if I share a link. What? Is this the link you're talking about? mypodcastjumpstart.com. So you want to be on one of my lectures too? Somewhere in the far future, not too far? Yeah, man, of course. Hell, I'd love to play with you. We've been connected for years. Don't you think it's time? Register for the Babadar. Yes. That's the secret code for everything I do with Inar in it. All right, well, I've stretched this on for just a lot longer than I needed to. But it was fun. I knew it would be. Just hanging out on a Sunday with you. All right, you be thinking about how you can change the world with your podcast. Oh, what I was going to say, and then we'll wrap this up for Schurzels. Let me get all ready with my, because it's just not It's not smooth. There will be a replay. And on the replay, you can ask questions, which I will receive, I think, via email or something. So don't worry too much, but worry enough so you try and be there. All right, music ended. Perfect time for me to go. I'm going.